Hey, what's good everybody? It's Ced Banner and this is my review of Glass. So this one is weird because it's the sequel that we did not know that we wanted and we didn't need necessarily. Well, not necessarily, we just didn't need it. But once we found out about it, even those, which is most film fans, but those who are not fans of my boy M. Night Shyamalan, even they were excited about it because it was one of those things that just came out of nowhere at the end of Split, of course, which was released 3 years ago. We saw how M. Night was going to tie it in with Unbreakable, which is one of his better movies and one of his crowd pleasers or favorites, but it's about to be 20 years old. The movie was released in 2000. I was in like 10th grade in high school when the movie was released. So seeing that he was going to really just go way out on a limb and tie these films together for one ensemble film was very exciting to hear. Of course, with this being M. Night, you had no idea what to expect, what to look for. You just knew it was going to be an experience. And that's why he is one of my favorite directors, even with all of his mistakes and flops. I feel like all of his films, even when they're bad, they're still an experience. They're an event. And that's something that's rare to get in the cinema these days. Has been most of my life, you know, once I got out of childhood. So I appreciate any director that is able to do. Starting off with the cast, I'm gonna go ahead and say I appreciate that M. Night did such a great job of keeping all the casting the same as far as tying in you know, both stories from Unbreakable and Split, and doing so from Unbreakable, which once again is nearly 20 years old now. That's really remarkable. But you know, from the mother of Samuel L. Jackson's character, Mr. Glass, all the way down to the son of David Dunn, who is played by Bruce Willis. These are the same actors playing these characters, so it gives the film overall a more authentic feel, and it also gives the characters better chemistry on screen from our side, you know, from the viewer's viewpoint. I will say that the plot could have easily become a mess, and I don't feel like it ever really did. I think M. Night, within the movie, clocks in at just a little over 2 hours. M. Night manages to tie in different elements from Unbreakable and also from Split without making it feel jumbled or like we're jumping from one thing to the other. It all works together because of how he has the characters come together in this mental facility. That was very cool to see movies, you know, so far apart, and movies that, when the first one was made, Unbreakable, let's just be honest, we know M. Night wasn't planning this. So for him to be able to reach back and do so seamlessly, I think that really deserves. I will say what really stands out the most in this entire film, as it did in Split, was the performance of James McAvoy as Kevin, you know, the character with all of these personalities. I'm not comparing them, but the performance is creepy in a great way, in the same way as Heath Ledger playing Joker in the Dark Knight film. Just because it looks and feels as if the actor truly has become the character. And there are maybe 2 scenes in this film that just focus for several minutes on McAvoy playing every personality, one after the other. He's Flash with a light and he's another personality, and he transitions so seamlessly that it's ridiculous. He should have seen some nominations from his performance in Split. Unfortunately he didn't, because let's just be real, I've preached in several other reviews, critics have their favorites and Shyamalan is shunned. So no matter how great of a job you do, if Shyamalan is the director, you're not going to get recognized. And that's going to be the case here, unfortunately, but he deserves some nominations because there is an extremely short list of actors who could successfully do what he pulled off with this character. It's really fun. I'll also say that Samuel L. Jackson is one of those actors who, you know, he's been in 8 million movies, and out of all those movies, he very rarely, in my opinion, plays someone who causes him to be someone other than Samuel L. Jackson. You know, all the way down to Nick Fury in the Avengers, the Marvel's films. It always just looks like Samuel L. Jackson in an eye patch to me. But this character, as it was in Unbreakable, is the same here. He really becomes this extremely disturbed yet intelligent man who is fighting to prove something that he truly believes. And he does a great job in this film also. He doesn't even really speak or do anything for like the first hour to hour and 15 minutes of the film. And still, when he's on screen, it's a great presence. But once he does start talking and gets in action, it's all hands on deck. It's a great ride. Him on screen with McAvoy going back and forth, and then seeing him once again on screen with Bruce Willis was just great, and it was also a treat. As far as the plot, the writing goes here, like I said, it never got jumbled up. But don't go into this film expecting to see, this great big superhero face-off extravaganza like you would with Marvel or DC or whoever. This is Shyamalan, and the movie is more so, the meat of the film is in the dialogue, it's in the chemistry between characters, it's in the themes and the elements of the plot. And the plot mostly, just as Unbreakable did, deals with humanity and kind of showing the parallels between that and fantasy and the comic book world and how they can easily mesh and cross. And also how we are limited to what we have been able to see, in the real world, and what truly may be possible. What are the limits? What have we not been allowed to see? This film digs into that, and there's so many other things. This review will be 45 minutes. I'm not going to touch that. I'll gladly have individual discussions. Like I said, the meat is in the dialogue, and I've seen a lot of reviews from the professional critics, of course, panning Shyamalan as always. I think they write their reviews before they even see his films now. But saying that the movie was too talky. There were too many slow points. But if you really sit and focus on the dialogue, what's being said, this is what drives the film, because this is what gives the characters their identities and their motivation. And it did not bore me. I was able to appreciate it. I followed it along because it was an interest of me. If you're interested in superheroes and the entire comic world and seeing how that would really work and look here in the real world, this is for you. Really focus on the dialogue. I'll say my only real con for the film is that in the third act, the whole climatic phase here in the film, it does feel like in several instances that M. Night kind of didn't know where to go. He didn't, you can tell he kind of wanted to go big and get flashy, but then he would pull back, it seemed like, and was like, well, let's keep it, on this entire theme of the dialogue and the eternal battles. And you could feel that in a lot of the third act, and that did take away from the film some. But I felt like the scenes where he really allowed the actors to shine, I think kind of overrode that. So it didn't kill the entire experience for me. So that's all I'll say about the film. Oh, M. Night, he does make his appearance in this film. Nothing changes there. So if you're one of those people who get upset about that, get ready to get mad again. So that's all I'll say about the film. My rating for Glass is, it's satisfying. That's it. I'll just wrap it all up in that one word. Like I said, the movie's not perfect. M. Night directs it. Either you love his work or you don't. I'm one of the people who mostly love it, but I'm not one of those jaded fans who can't admit when he messes up. He's made in my opinion, 2 pieces of trash. Most people I know will say 3 or 4. I give it 2, and the other ones, they may have been flawed, but overall I felt like they were some nice works of art that can be appreciated throughout time. I feel like they are timeless, and I feel like that's what art is supposed to be. So this film is satisfying. Like I said, he was able to mesh together these plots that are so far apart and were so different, honestly, and put them under one theme. And I feel like he did it in a way that only he can. So I enjoyed it. I feel like you, whether you're a fan of him or not, overall can enjoy it. So that concludes this review. Until my next review,